Hello, hello, hello. It is Monday. It is 8:30. It is Conversations with Teresa. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in. If you're new, welcome. This is going to be a great, great time. I'm hoping you guys all had a fabulous week and weekend. And again, thanks for tuning in. We have the opportunity on Conversations with Teresa to really engage various people from all walks of life in the subjects of work-life balance, of communication, and of confidence. And the reality is that each one of us have to deal with these topics in our life. So I thought it would be a good thing for us to talk about during our podcast. So if we can glean some information off some folks, we can shine brightly for others. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So, on this episode, we have the privilege to have the infamous Don Hicks from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Don Hicks, I want to welcome you to Conversations with Teresa. I am so excited that you are here. Yay, Don is here in the house. So,
Thank you
listen.
so much.
So I said, you might not have heard this, but I said the infamous Don Hicks from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. So in my world, like Don Hicks is, she the woman, right? So hands down, everybody know. So that's in my world. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today, and she was like, "Oh, who are you gonna have on?" So I was like, I'm gonna have Don Hicks from the. Oh, Don. Oh, I know Don. I'm like, okay, all right. That's how we roll. That's how Don rolls. Okay, but then a few minutes, we talked to our guest a few minutes ahead of time, and then you told me of some folks, some favorite people of mine that you are related to. Dave and Carol Washington and Van and Daryl Owens. And I'm like,
Yes.
what? So again, the infamous
Yes.
Don Hicks. Okay. So we are here. I am super, super excited. Don, how long have we known each other?
So many years.
Several,
At
right? It's
least
at least like
several, at least 10.
at least 15, I think. I think it's been at least 15 years since
It could
we've
be.
known each other and been able to work with each other. And so it is absolutely my pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. So, if you don't mind, it is my custom. I take a few minutes just to brag on my guests. So, I just need you to sit there, look pretty, listen to all this greatness. It's all you. So, it's all good. All right. So, I'm just going to read your bio. So, Don Hicks is a senior program manager for the Today's Interns, Tomorrow's Professionals TIP internship program at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. She fosters the professional growth and development of Boston area youth. Her work involves helping local students overcome barriers to social and economic mobility. Don has also conducted outreach to financial capability practitioners in the region. So sorry, promoting awareness of important resources and helping them to connect with each other. Previously, Don worked on the bank efforts to keep New England consumers informed of their rights, existing protections, and the financial education resources through convenings, educational events, and publications. Don, you do some important, meaningful work here in Boston. Thank you so much. Can you just tell us in your own words what it is that you do and what is the impact that you believe in know to have?
Well, first, thank you so much, Teresa, for having me. I'm honored to be a guest on your podcast. Um, so I appreciate that. You said a good amount of it in the introduction. Thank you. But for the most part, my primary focus now is um, rearing up, I'll say, high school, working with high schoolers, rearing them up to become young professionals, and not just have them uh, prepared and have them in the work role, but to have them know how to not just get a job, but to keep a job. So in our program, the Today's Interns, Tomorrow's Professionals internship program, also known as TIP, we actually uh, use this work and learning program to offer students a placement, offer them other supports like trainings, hard technical and soft skills trainings to help them pretty much morph into sustainable wage earning young professionals. And so we do that with, uh, like I said, training, supports, and a mentoring component. We do
Mm-hmm.
that with case management and one on one sessions with them to, again, help them not just get a job, but to keep a job and learn how to keep a job. And it's really about access and opportunity that they might not otherwise have to get into this professional
Right,
world,
right,
to get into the corporate world, to have the opportunity to know what it means to not just get in, but learn and grow to be young professionals. And so it's been it's been a great a good ride, and it's been great to see these young people just come in as we all are at high school age, really green and not really knowing a lot, and then growing into these young professionals who are very
right.
dedicated and very understanding of the world that they are entering, and learning how to manage and navigate through it. It's been really great. It's
Right,
always a
right.
great thing to see.
It is awesome. So, one of the things that I think about is the fact that you are these young folks are coming through your program, and they're with you what, 2 to 4 years about.
Actually, good question. They are with us up to 3,
Okay,
actually.
okay.
They start with us as sophomores in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and they get some trainings on how to prepare them for our 6-week summer program, and then from there, some continue on to us for an additional 3 years in our year-round program, starting as juniors in high school and continuing through the completion of their first year of college or first year of post-secondary training. And
That's
in those three
fantastic.
years, we work with them again, not just to give them a job and a job to do, but that's where the a majority of the training comes from, where they learn how to get acclimated to the work world. They learn some financial capability skills, and they
Mm-hmm.
learn how to. The goal is for them to learn how to not only for their next opportunity, not only to get a job, but to keep that job
To
and to
keep
get
that
and feel
job.
confident in going out and getting whatever the job is that they would desire to have.
And that's it.
So
And
yes, they
so,
stay with us for a total of 3 years. And in
right.
those 3 years, they also, I was going to say, in those 3 years, they also, we our program, which is very research based and very intentional, we look to give them trainings that are appropriate to their level. So the college freshman may not necessarily need the same thing and the same guidance as the high school junior. And
Right.
so it's a scaffolded program as well.
That is so fantastic. I mean, I just think about my first job was like Burger King. I didn't get any mentoring. I got, 5 hours or 6 hours a week, and it was like clock in, clock out. That's it. Show up or get fired. That was the mentoring that I
Right,
got.
right,
So it's really great that you're able to provide so much and for so
right.
long, not just for the summer, but like you said, it's year round. And so one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on here, because I felt like with the subject matters that we talk about here, you would have a lot to talk about for young professionals, really getting into the habit of work and the habit of working well. And so one of the first questions I really wanted to talk about was work-life balance. And so, we all have our different ideas about what work-life
Hmm.
balance is. And I just wanted to hear from you. What is your concept when you think about work-life balance? What do you think of?
The first thing I think about is comfort level. Um, in feeling that you are comfortable in juggling
Hmm.
your profession or your job in your personal life, because I think it's really crucial that you have that comfort level and you have that balance. You should be able to be at work and do your job and feel comfortable that the rest of your life is functioning the way it should, that things are going the way they should. And if not, you have the ability and you feel comfortable and have the permission, if you will, to take care of it and still be able to keep things up to par in your job, still be able to feel that you can do that without any repercussions, and to feel like you can take care of what needs to be taken care of, either on the home front or in your personal life and at the job. And if either side needs any attention, that you feel that comfort to be able to attend to what
Hmm.
needs to be attended to.
So,
And that's what I think about when that's
yeah.
the first thing that's mine when I think of work life.
Okay. So I'm thinking about in your role, you must have folks coming to you that are sometimes out of balance. All right. What kind of tips, what kind of advice can you give to someone who's not quite balanced? Again, work-life balance, work-life integration. There's a couple of different ways that we can look at it. Not necessarily balancing on a scale like I have this much work and this much, outside of work. It doesn't really work that way. But just
Hmm.
as you explained it before,
Hmm.
but if someone's having a hard
Right.
time with I am so overwhelmed with work, or I am so overwhelmed with life, or I'm just overwhelmed. What kind of tips or what kind of advice would you give to them, especially being this young professional, just learning how to make this all work?
Right. Right. Well, great question. And what I normally think of and what I do suggest and try to take the suggestions myself is to first try to first get your life in order, right? Try to make sure that you're, as an older professional who might have a family, get your get your daycare squared away. Get your if you have children, daycare, maybe after school program in order and straightened up. If you're a caretaker for someone in your family, not necessarily just for children, but to make sure that they're
Right.
set so you can concentrate on work. If you're um, a student who's also in school, focus on making sure that your class schedule is, you have a handle on that, so
Right.
that
Right.
just making sure that things outside of work are in order, so that you can
Mm-hmm.
have that, again, that comfort level to do your job, knowing that things are secure. um, Another thing I think about is, putting your work schedule together, or whatever work schedule you're working on,
Mm-hmm.
stick to it. um,
Good point.
Especially since we've been in the time, and now because of since the start of COVID, now in the throes of, I'll call it post-COVID, if you will, even though it's not post-COVID, but we've
Right.
had we've all developed, a lot of us, these flexible schedules. You know, it's important to, and some of us have that flexibility to work, maybe stop, do what we need to do for home, personal life, and what have you, and then go back and finish our work. Um, or our person can take care of personal business and go back to work.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
when you're working, you're working. When you're focusing on other part aspects of your life, focus on that, and try not to do the two together.
Hmm.
And the other thing I suggest, and I use, and I definitely suggest this with my students, is use a calendar to, and
Hmm.
one big one to, for your work obligations and and those in your personal life,
Right.
so that you're not trying to, for one, you're not trying to go back and forth to different calendars, but you see it all there. You see what you have to do. It kind of helps you plan better, kind of helps you execute what it is you need to do. If um, you need to make an appointment for, I don't know, a medical appointment, and you look at your calendar and you say, okay, well, I can't do it on that day. That kind of keeps you from having to. Sometimes we have to, but if you have the flexibility to
Right.
say, okay, I can't make this appointment on this day because I have a big meeting I have to be in attendance for, or my supervisor has a project that I'm working on and
Hmm.
I need to be there to do it, so I don't have to call out, change change their world,
Hmm.
who my superiors, who are my supervisors, who are counting on me, and I don't have to um, compromise either side. So yes, emergencies happen, definitely, but when you have the opportunity to schedule your work, schedule your
Right.
personal
Right.
needs as well. And when you have everything all on the calendar, it helps you manage and then feel a little more present, a little more confident, a little more, you know, successful in trying to manage
Exactly. No, you're
that work-life balance.
you're absolutely right. And
So those are the things I would say.
right. And I would
Get
just
your
think
life in
that
order,
get your
determine
life in
your
order.
work schedule and stick to it, and use the calendar.
Thank you so much. And sometimes like we're having these conversations and it can seem like, okay, this is common sense. But to some people, it's not like it's a hard emotionally, it can be hard to say, okay, I don't want to let my supervisor down, or I don't want to let my family member down. And so those emotions can get in the way sometimes of us having balance or feeling like we are, we're doing the right thing. And so sometimes, like you said, having that
Hmm.
calendar so that you can be guilt free, like I can totally focus where I need to focus at. And so you're dead on with that. So thank you so much for that. um, let's talk a little bit about communication. Communication in the
Okay.
workplace, communication at home, communication with coworkers, supervisors, all that stuff. What have you found to be one of the greatest communication challenges among coworkers? Not necessarily your personal coworker. I was just thinking, I was like, you gotta be like,
The
oh,
first thing that comes to mind.
yes.
No, no, I hear you. Even with, yes, the coworkers, yes. The first thing that comes to mind is listening. I think it is really important for both sides to listen,
Hmm.
because sometimes you're in conversation with someone, you're working on something together, or you're just communicating for whatever reason.
Hmm.
You have your thought that's already forming in your brain while the other person is talking to you,
Oh,
and you may
yes.
not hear everything they're saying.
That's right.
You may hear the words, but not really hear what they're saying. And
Hmm.
so it's really important to listen so that you can respond, appropriately.
Right.
And so the other
Absolutely.
person doesn't hear you saying, you're just getting your point out, and you're not, and doesn't feel like you're really listening to them. And right there, there's a break in the communication. Um, so I think, but it's a hard thing to do, because you
Yes.
have your um, points that you want to make. You have your beliefs. You have what you need to get out. And so, just as the other person does, and sometimes it can be this breakdown in communication just because um, folks aren't listening to each other. So I think it's really important to listen. And when you listen, you can then get on with what it is that you need to get on with and figure out how to fix it, how to work together, um, be in alignment with each other or whatever it might be, but you have to listen. And
Right.
sometimes folks, because they are driven on what they need to do, what they're trying to say, what they're trying to get done,
Mm-hmm.
not listening. So I think that's really important
Right. And you're
and
right.
probably one of the biggest barriers to
You're
communication.
right. No, you're right. And it is hard, especially when you have those time constraints. And I might, maybe I come into your office and I know I got two
Hmm.
minutes, or maybe you only have 2 minutes, and so I need to get my thing out, and then you want to tell me something, and I'm just like, wait a minute, my question isn't answered, and she's about to leave, so I'm going to ask again, and you may have just told me the answer, right? So you're
Hmm.
right. It is
Hmm.
hard.
Hmm.
Do you have any other tips for people? Just any strategies? Any other strategies besides listening, which is probably the most important? Any other things that you could add just about communications, effective communications, communication?
Effective communication. Aside from listening, I think it's also important to, and this may be an oxymoron, it may be contradictory, but it's also important to say what you have to say. You can't, if you leave a conversation or a situation where you're not heard, you're not, and therefore not seen, not therefore not on your way to resolving whatever it is you're
Right.
trying to resolve, then that's a problem as well. So even though you need to listen, you also need to make sure that you're heard.
Right.
Um, and
Yeah.
sometimes that might be difficult for folks
Right.
to do that because depending on the dynamics, the hierarchy involved, the situation where one person who's doing all the talking and not listening, or not, I'll say one person who's doing all the talking because they're the
Hmm.
expert, and you may feel like, oh, because I'm not the expert, I can't speak up. Just don't do that. Make your point known, even if it means stepping out on a limb, even if it means, um, you know, risking feeling uncomfortable.
Hmm.
You need to not only listen, but also say what you have to say. And even
Right.
you made a good point, Teresa. In the situation where there's limited time to talk, it might be, I think it's okay if I'm talking to you and I'm going on and on about what I have to say, but you have something to say. It's okay to say, can I just interject for a second and say, I need to say something as well. And I
That's
know we
it.
have limited time, and I need to have some time allotted for me to say what I have to say.
And that is key.
I think it's okay when you say that because sometimes, again,
Yeah.
it's very key. It's very
Right.
key because
Right.
sometimes, folks, yes, everybody has to say what or needs to say what they want to say, and some are a little better at it than others. Some are a little more assertive or even aggressive at it, and then
Hmm.
others, they're a little more low key. They might be shy. They might be, working on their self confidence and feel
Hmm.
like they're um, not have that feeling that they can speak up as well or that
Right.
anybody wants to hear them. But I think,
Right.
majority of folks, at least in my own experience, I want to hear you too. Yeah, I want you to hear what I have to say, but I want to hear you too. And so I'm not one to take offense, and I think most respect you if you say, if I could just interject for a minute, I just want to let you know that I have a point I need to make, and I know we're about to run out of time. So listen
Exactly.
and also
And you
say what you need to say as well.
right. And that really leads into just being confident enough to say what you need to say, even if it it doesn't align, like people don't agree with you, right? And just being confident at the job,
Yes,
sometimes it's really
yes.
hard. I would imagine, I don't even have to imagine, when we start a new job, let alone start working, there's not a whole lot of reason for us to be confident in it because we don't even know what we're doing. Right? We're walking into a new situation.
Right.
Everything's new, so everything is
Right.
a question, right? And so there'll be a lot of temptation to not be confident in, your role yet and your position or what you're doing. And like I said, I know from my own walks and different opportunities, that there's that moment where I'm just like, I'm questioning everything. I'm questioning what I'm going to say. I'm going to question what I'm going to ask. Does this sound right? Is this okay? Or, whatever, whatever. One of the things that I figured out, one job that I had, I was convinced I was around I was around quite a few lawyers. And I'm sitting here like in the room, like,
Mm-hmm.
why am I here? Like, that was in my head, like, why am I here? So to me, what I would ask these questions, and everyone always say, oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. So I kind of deem myself the resident, I don't know person. Like I got really comfortable with I don't know. And it was fine. Like,
Okay.
because sometimes you think that
Yeah.
I have to know everything walking into a situation. I need
Right.
to have the best answer. I need to ask the best question. I need to have the best conversation. But I was like, I am the resident. And I boldly said it, like, I am the resident. I don't know. And I'm okay with it. So you're going to have to teach me, you know,
Yeah.
and that's
That's it. Yep.
that
That's
was
it.
how I did. But how would you say confidence plays a role in the workplace?
Confidence in the workplace.
Mhm. Or in life, just having a sense of
Or
confidence.
in life, right? Like
Mhm.
it's yeah, okay. It's definitely it plays a role in all aspects of our life, right?
Right.
In the workplace, uh, in our personal environments, in we tend to or we can seem to have more confidence than in our professional environments if and vice versa. It depends on, I guess that even depends on the person, the track they're on, um, and where they're at, what stage they're at in life. And I just say that because there was a time for me, um, that the confidence wasn't too high.
Mhm.
It was as a teenager and even a young adult, I always second guessed myself in certain situations and
Absolutely.
then was boldly taking over in other situations. So, it depends, right? But I'll say in the workplace, um, confidence is it's important, but I because the first thing you have to know, and this is what I say to my young people, you have a right to be here. So you have a right to ask questions. You have a right to
That's
express
right.
your opinion. You have a right to learn and to
Mhm.
grow and to hone your skills. And this is
Mhm.
what your work environment is supposed to be like.
Right.
Um, our building is very intimidating, especially for young people.
It
And
is.
coming into this professional environment as a young person can be overwhelming. And um, one of the first things I tell them, and we do a lot of work to make them feel comfortable, but still it's kind of hard. You're talking older people who are in a
Mhm.
profession who may say and use terms that are very intimidating to you, and it's okay. Ask what it means.
Mhm.
Um, and I take my own advice. I may be sitting in a room full of folks who are subject matter experts, and I'm not necessarily at that level with them. I ask questions. Just like you said, Teresa, I get intimidated by asking questions. Whereas as a young person, I was. which is why I feel an obligation to tell the young people I work with, it's okay to ask questions. We heard that saying, the only dumb question is the one that's not asked.
Right.
And you have a right to ask questions because you have a right to understand and know, you know, what you need to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But in another, so I know I'm going on and on, so maybe you have another question for me, but I think that's important.
No, no,
Um,
you're absolutely right.
to just know that you have a right to ask questions.
Right. And one of the things that I guess that I would add to the asking of questions, especially when we are in a new situation, whether it's a new job or just coming into the work environment, um, I guess what I would say is that in order to have confidence, we have to have some competence, right? You have to know what you're
Yes,
doing. So, going back to my Burger King days, before I knew how to put together a Whopper Junior, I was a little intimidated by that. Like, I can go and order a Whopper Junior, but oh, I need to make it now. Like that was pressure, right?
right.
But then after I figured it out, I was like, "You want cheese? No cheese. You have it your way. What you want?" Like
Yes,
and
I
then there
hear.
was my confidence that was able to come out because now I'm competent. I know how to do this. And now my confidence comes out. And I wish that someone had said that to me before, because at one point I felt like I was always going to feel not confident. And so I just wanted to add on to what you were saying.
Yes,
It's all of that and the importance of having confidence at work. Um, it's
yes,
both of those things. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So Don, we are just about out of time. I don't know if there's any other things that you may have, any other tip. I don't know if you saw the play on words. I was like tips from Don because of the TIP program. I don't know. You're just like, what? I didn't even see that.
yes,
Um,
I did.
oh, you did. Okay.
That was pretty cool.
I thought I was being clever. So,
Yes, I did.
is there anything else you'd like to add to this conversation?
I actually, you were. I thought it was really nice.
Aw. Good stuff.
Well, I just, one thing I'll add is that first of all, it's been really great talking with you, Teresa. This is awesome. Looking forward to next week and who the next person will be talking with
Oh,
to
yes.
get some tips for myself as well.
Amen.
But I just want to say that we're all in a what is I consider myself a continuous learner,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all on that track of learning how to navigate our work-life balance, learning, what we need
Right.
to do to gain our confidence, and always looking for the best ways to communicate with each other. So I appreciate you asking me to come on and talk about my experience, um, which is not necessarily the end all and the be all, but hopefully I was able to, help someone to master these things or continue to learn,
Right.
not necessarily master because we're we're not necessarily experts on
All of
on
life
these
yet.
topics, but people who are learning how to navigate.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on. So, for Don and for all those who are listening, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I'll do my normal uh, podcast thing: like, subscribe, share, let people know. It's just conversations with Teresa. I just want to talk about these things. These are things that matter to me, subjects that's mattered to me, and the past experiences that I've had. I've realized that all of these things play such a pivotal role in all the different jobs that I've had. And so I really want to make sure that people can feel more confident, that they can communicate better, and that they can have a really great life balance, because work life balance or life balance so that their world and their life can be so much more enjoyable. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Tune in next week. It's going to be another amazing podcast, and I look forward to sharing that with you. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks for coming, Don.
Thank you